Hello, everyone. Welcome to AWS She Builds Tech Skills, episode 2022.
2022. I think we're in 2023,
I
but
know.
22, right?
It's
Out of
episode
20.
2020. We have come a long way. So 2022 episode, She Builds Tech Skills. If you haven't seen our previous episode, She Builds Tech Skill is all about showcasing women in technology, all the awesome demos, technical projects that they're working on, and we are here to showcase. And my name is Mai. My name is May, and I'm a solutions architect from Amazon Web Services. Mai, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, Ryan, my name's Mai. And May's over there. Oh, what's happened here? Uh, hopefully, you can still see me. Yeah, so what's been happening in the last couple of weeks, May?
So I have a bit of a technical issue, so I'm gonna let you to take over, and I'll be back in 20 seconds. So this is
Yeah, no
live, as you
worries.
can see.
Yeah, so what's been happening these days? So May and I have been working on the AWS DevOps professional certification, and we're doing this awesome show with our training and certification trainer, Harrison. And we've got this awesome show that will help you get DevOps professional certified. So how about that? And that's coming up
That is
next Tuesday in what time? What time is that show next Tuesday in
so.
Australian Eastern Standard Time?
Yes, so I'm back, by the way. You know what happened? Because in the room, there is no movement in the room, and the light switch off automatically. So that's why I gone dark.
Are you in the
So
office, May, or you're at
I'm in
home?
the I'm in the office today.
I
So
see.
that's why. So apologies, and at least you know this is happening live. So what we've been working on, so the like mine mentions, we've been working on the DevOps professional certification show. So this is a brand new show, and I just dropped the link in the chat as well. So TNC Training and Certification Team, they have been launching a lot of new shows on the certification and exam prep. So if you're interested, if you're preparing for the exam, go and check it out. And our new show is coming next week, Monday, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. It will be 10 a.m. in Australia and New Zealand time. No, not New
Yeah,
Zealand
so we're
time, Australia time.
we're super excited, and yeah, let's go engage with the audience, right, May? Where is everyone tuning in from? We'd love to know. Uh, Obviously, May and I are based in Australia, but whereabouts are you tuning in from? Love to hear from you, even if you're a first time Twitch viewer. Uh, yeah, come and join us in the chat, and we'll be asking a lot of questions to our guests today, which we'll talk about in just a second. But yeah, let us know. Let us know
Let
where
us
you're
know
tuning in
where,
from.
yeah. So we've been, yeah, so we've been joining from Australia. We have a lot of guests across the world. We also have, the audience joining from across the world. So let us know where you're all joining from. Today we have a very special topic. Generative AI. Everyone has been talking about it. So very excited to talk about, what is happening in the space, what are the other customers are doing, and how AWS is helping customers in this space. So
Yes, so generative AI. I've been talking to a lot of my customers around generative AI, and it is a really interesting topic. Everyone seems to be developing a new feature around generative AI. And yeah, I think for my customers, it's a variety of use cases, including chatbots and uh, internal use cases as well.
yeah,
How to summarize text with internal and external documents, what about call centers, transcription, all that kind of stuff?
yeah.
So that it's
I'm
all
gonna
happening
pop it
this
in
way.
the chat. Like, have anyone tried generative AI? I'm sure most of you have tried. So, have anyone experienced or play around with generative AI?
Yeah, I certainly have. I've created some awesome artwork for my mother for Mother's Day, and it was a hit.
Oh,
So yeah, what
that's
about you,
awesome.
mate?
Well, there are, when something new comes out, you just try it out. In terms of like, I've tried summarizations. You give a few prompts of a few instructions on how to do it, and it gave a really nice summary of a report or a nice summary of a news or something like that. So it's a lot of use cases, and a lot of customers are experimenting with this new technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we go into the topic at hand in depth, I just wanted to mention one more thing. So, what's happening, especially
Mm.
around Australia, right? So, we have a Kubernetes Community Day coming up in Sydney, and the AWS crew will be there because we're gold sponsors. So, if you're based in Australia somewhere and you're a Kubernetes fan, love to see you there.
Are you going there, Mai?
Uh, I hope to go there. We'll see around the travel side of things, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to be
I think
there.
Kubernetes is a really it's a great topic, and a lot of customer has been, building on AWS using Kubernetes or like containers in general. And it has been, I guess, like a lot of my customers also experimenting around moving or modernization in the container space. So that's going to be a really great show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still see some, cross-functional areas between AIML workloads and containers. I think we work hand in hand, right? Because you need some
Yeah,
kind of infrastructure in order to train your
like
models.
compute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
compute is definitely necessary. So, you need to have some kind of yeah application function running on
for sure.
computers, containers. Ah, too early in the morning.
You probably
Yeah.
need a coffee, or a
Yeah.
tea. All right, shall we? Do you want to introduce the guests for this episode?
Yeah, sure. So today we have our special guest, Melanie Li, who is a senior specialist AI ML technical account manager. So I'll let Melanie introduce herself. Welcome, Melanie.
Hey everyone, good morning. Thanks, Mai and May, for inviting me to this session. This is awesome. And my name is Melanie. I'm an AML specialist technical manager based out of Sydney. So, in my role, I normally help our enterprise support customers focusing on their operational excellence for any of their AML workloads. So, I help customers throughout the APJC region, like who are enterprise support customer, of course, and basically anything regarding their architecture design, regarding the use of like our AML services. And also, I was a SageMaker SME subject matter experts in my previous kind of life when I was working in premium support in AWS. And outside of AWS, I've been working as a senior data scientist in the financial and also retail industry.
Fantastic. May, do you want to kick off with some questions related to career?
Yeah. So, Melanie, you have been with AWS for a few, quite a long time. So, I guess, like my question is like, how do you get into this industry, and what was your experience like?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So I actually I started my research I did my master research and also PhD in machine learning and also computer science. And then when I was doing my like PhD interns in one of the financial company in Australia, and I got this opportunity to actually join AWS Premium Support team to basically help our customers on the like any technical issues regarding SageMaker. So that's the first time when I actually get into learning about SageMaker, where our premium support team is a very highly technical team, and we're focusing on
Yeah,
the platform and also helping our customer with any of the SageMaker related queries. So that's where I got my SageMaker SME as well. And then I
that's
joined
amazing.
another retail company as a data scientist there, and then to building on some real world applications to helping the royalty program, things like that, recommender system. So that's where I kind of sharpening my skills on the data science and ML ops and things. And after that, I joined back AWS to my
Yeah.
current team, and this is where I actually can apply my knowledge that I gain from the premium support team about the service, and also my knowledge in the real world kind of data science and machine learning applications to help customer to basically sharing my knowledge and then learning from my customer as well, from the ML
Yeah.
ops and also from the data processing and all the work, like kind of life cycle about machine learning.
Yeah. That's cool. So for the audience who don't know what SageMaker means, Melanie, would you be
Okay.
able to give us like one liner of what is SageMaker? And
Yeah,
what is the
SageMaker. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, May. So SageMaker is our fully managed machine learning platform where we help customers, they can easily build, train, and deploy their machine learning projects in the cloud with all the security and governance handled by the cloud. So it basically removes all the heavy lifting from customer needing to manage and build their own infrastructure, and then can quickly kind of accelerate their machine learning project from ideation to production.
yeah.
I hope that
Amazing.
summary kind
Thank
of
you.
covers.
That's great summary. So today we have, a little bit of a demo, a little bit of a theory around generative AI with SageMaker. So we're going to go that in a minute. Before that, Mai, do you have another question for
Yeah,
Melanie?
definitely. So I know AI/ML and especially generative AI is a hot topic right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of people trying to get better in that space. What advice would you give to those people wanting to be in the AI/ML space?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Thanks, Mai. So yeah, this is a very big topic. I'll say now everybody's talking about generative AI, and also like we would like to help our customers or anyone who want to get kind of join this domain. So I think May later on like will share a link that is basically one of the AWS course that we recently launched from Coursera, which is a very popular machine learning platform. And then that is the course about specifically about generative AI and how to use large language model, and then you will be able to have some hands-on. I think that's basically one of the easy way to quickly help you to get into this field. And also I'll say try with our kind of easy to use machine learning platform like a SageMaker Jumpstart to quickly get you started with all the a lot of the popular open source model without you to need to basically manage all the infras or like deployment yourself. You can quickly one click launch the open source models on SageMaker and start exploring or building your applications.
All right, we've got an
Yeah.
audience question here from
Yep.
Rupla. So, what about for complete newbies like themselves? And you can put me in that category as well. So, where do you start with AI/ML if you're a complete newbie? Would that Coursera course be a little bit advanced for those folks, or?
I think let's say it this way, that course actually designed for anyone who want to learn, because they when generative AI comes, like when we say large language model or foundation model, it comes like you can it is actually designed to help with multiple different type of machine learning problems without you to be to the need to fine tune or train your own model. So that model is already kind of a lot of the open source model is actually comes with the ability that you can directly deploy and start using. But then like the learning may now focus more, later on we'll talk about how to customize the solution or how to build the application leveraging the out of the box like large language model. For example, you may want to consider prompt engineering, you may consider all the elements, all the tools around the building the application using large language model like LangChain and even our AI services, which is just API based. So it can easily get you quickly like accelerated on this journey. But if you do want to learn a bit more about the machine learning and AI services, we do have a lot of resources actually available on AWS learning platform as well. And also thinking about, we have that machine learning specialty certificate, and we have that learning certificate team like May and Mai at the beginning that you mentioned, that we have all the different programs that can actually help you, and the resources help you online. It's very easy to find. And yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. May, do you want to take this
Yeah.
question?
This is a very interesting. Thanks for the answer. I hope, Rupla, that answered your question. So I think it's like machine learning and AI ML is a very broad topic, and it's involved a lot of knowledge and experience. So it's definitely a journey. So whether you take the certification or you understand, you polish on the understanding of what it really means and apply to the real world examples. I think that's how the journey should go, in my opinion. I think this is a really interesting question from Vegetarian. Can SageMaker help me create something like ChatGPT? I think you probably get a lot of questions, Melanie, like this. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Actually, we do have customers like already building their own chatbot using leveraging the power of the machine learning platform and then the open source models. Because
Yeah.
one thing that we want to highlight is that SageMaker, we have a very close relationship with collaboration with Hugging Face. So any of the Hugging Face models, like the popular open source models that you can see there, you can easily deploy on SageMaker. And then like today, actually later on, I'll show you the one of the simple example that to show you how actually I built a multifunctional chatbot on SageMaker, and I'm just using SageMaker Studio as to build the UI. But that is basically kind of um, a experimental kind of demo. But then when you want to actually
Yeah.
build the application to facing your customers, that you can leveraging our serverless or like all the different AWS tools that to help you to make it into production. This one maybe you will have more experience, right? You help your customer to build the chatbot on AWS, right? Leveraging some of the serverless. You are the serverless expert. Do you want to add some more data points to this?
Well, actually, I was helping my customer with one of your solutions on GitHub, Melanie. So I think it's an awesome solution. And as long as we can quickly get our customers started and, using some of the tooling, that they're comfortable with, right? So that's why I was saying, using containers in that space is always, I think it's a plus for those that are new to that space, especially if you're looking at DevOps people, developers,
Yeah.
who are not necessarily in the data engineering, machine learning space. So I'm definitely in that camp. So, and looking at another question here, Nginx 79, can SageMaker help me win the lottery? What do you reckon, Melanie?
Yeah, I hope that SageMaker can, but like SageMaker is more like a machine learning platform. That's where I see the most value or the value proposition where SageMaker is at, because it has all the functionality. I'll say it has the depth and breadth of covering all the machine learning resource or like the platform need that to give you the fully managed platform. So you don't really need to worry about setting up your EC2 or the serverless infra, where SageMaker can easily help you to basically handle that part. And then you can only focus on your application when you want to build application like MyMate. Like it can easily integrate with all our serverless like EKS, ECS, or Fargate, and build the front end, build your chatbot. And then in the
Yeah.
backend, SageMaker would be the backend brand that you just directly make API calls to the service,
Yeah.
like SageMaker endpoint, to basically give you the answer. But then when ask SageMaker to help you win the lottery, I think that would be something like not any machine learning model will be able to do that. I'll say otherwise, like everyone would be using that, and then the lottery wouldn't be a lottery anymore. But I hope that one day that we can have some special tricks that can help me to get more money from the lotters.
Maybe we can ask what's the winning number to the SageMaker, and it will give us the number. We
Yeah.
have a few questions on the career, and then we can jump onto the demo right after this. There's another question from Rupla saying, "What's the typical prerequisite to get into AI ML space?"
I'll say now, as the generative AI model or the foundation model has really lowered the bar to enter this
Yeah.
space, and maybe you just need to basically get some basic understanding in machine learning and understanding. We have a lot of enablement actually we run for our customers to, and also there are so many online resources to talk about what is generative AI and then how can you start it. And then if you want to start building, and then SageMaker, like our jumpstart, we have all the different easy like to use tools that can get you quickly started. And And like today, actually, we're going to show you how easy that you can get started and some of the available tools and resources. And we have so many AWS blogs about the generative AI large language model. And also we have some amazing like AWS Amazonians, I'll say, building the solutions like every day that we're seeing new resources coming available. So that's why definitely follow our AWS resources and then follow us on LinkedIn, and we will share the latest news that can easily continuously get you kind of new information and get you started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just get
And
hands-on where you can, right? And speaking
Yes.
of
definitely.
LinkedIn, we've got a yeah. So hi Harrison, thanks for watching us. I'm definitely not a serverless sage, but thank you anyway. Thanks for watching our show. And Harrison is our other host. Where May and I and Harrison, we're all hosting the DevOps Pro show.
Next week.
Our hour next week. So stay
So
tuned.
I just dropped the link. If you haven't signed up for the DevOps engineer show, just drop the link in the chat if you can sign up and see all the things action next week. Cool. Should we move on to the demo, get hands-on and see the real thing that's happening?
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. All right. Now let me just walk you through the demo. So first we'll look at what we're going to build. All right. So this is the multifunctional chatbot, and you can see in the backend actually I have a few in the foundation model domain we have different use cases. We have the text to text, which is what you have commonly heard about, like for example Falcon, and also for example the Llama 2 that was just released 2 days ago. And those are text to text, which means you input the text like what I do now. I have some pre-prepared prompts. So I'm asking the model to talk about like what does it think, like if this is a negative, neutral, or positive. That you can see the model was able to say, okay, this is a negative like sentiment. And then
Yeah.
because in this chatbot, actually I use LangChain and also with its memory buffer function. So it was able to remember the previous conversation. Now I just continuously ask another question. I want the bot to help me to write a kind of response message. And you can see the bot was able to write something that really kind of considering the customer's situation and then suggesting something that we can help the customer. So this is the text to text. And then this model actually behind the scene, I'm actually running a Falcon 7B, which is not a very big model. And now because this bot that I built also can leverage other like foundation models. So if you have heard about Bleep2, which is a multimodality model, that when we say multimodality, that means like it cannot only take text but also image. So here, this image actually is generated by Stable Diffusion. This is the AI generated image. So everything that we show today is
So
kind
that's
of
not
like
real. So
leveraging. They're not real. This is not real. But you can see how Stable Diffusion was able to, if you're aware,
well,
Stable Diffusion is basically a text to image. So I put in some prompts. I say generate car crash and then whatever. And it's just generating this crash image for me. And now I'm asking this the Bleep2 model to basically, I can chat with my image. I'll say, oh, actually I have some pre-prepared some prompt. Give me a caption. So Bleep2 is really good at like generating some caption for this image. So how many cars do you see in the image?
so it's
Now I
kind of like
send, and then
analyzing the image and
it's
just give
able to,
you
yeah, it's,
able
if
to
you want
yeah.
to have a look at Bleep2 Hugging Face, so this is Bleep2 Op67. I use 2.7, and then this is basically the concept about
I see.
this model. Let me just share with you the link. May feel free to share with the audience. And also, I'm just wanting to make sure that we're not really kind of prepare the chat. I want to show you what's happening in the behind the scenes. So you can see I actually hosting this chatbot on my SageMaker Studio, and then you can see the input actually getting sent to the backend model, and then it is generating the output live. Okay. And besides that, what else can we do? Now let me clear the conversation. Let's switch to
So
another model. Yep,
it's not just
please
one
go ahead.
function. So you can do like,
Yeah,
it's, for example, feedback and sentiment on the feedback, image analysis or image generation. Like, so a lot of
yes.
functions that this chatbot can do.
Yeah, there are different endpoint. I'll show you what's behind the scene. So there are a few SageMaker endpoint that was actually hosted in my SageMaker. So
Right.
whenever there is a new kind of, I in my script, basically, I have this kind of, I will decide if this is an image, then like making sure the session is computer vision. When it's audio, the session I'll say it's audio, or if it's just text, it will be an NLP. And then based on my session option, I will call the corresponding endpoint, which means the request will be sending to the different endpoint instead of just one. But then now this is the audio. This audio is what I recorded myself talking about digital assets. So now I like this. When I upload the audio behind the scene, it will automatically do transcribe. So transcribe the audio file into text. So this is the text that it has recognized from the audio file. So now I will now switch to an NLP model. It will be used. You can see it says currently using an NLP model. It will summarize this and then like combining the question, what does this file say, summarize in one sentence. And yeah, so it is able to continue the conversation. Then because we
Yeah.
have changed that audio into text, it kind of switch into the NLP model, which is the Falcon Salmon B, and to continue the conversation. And this is chatting with the audio file. And also like you can do a video file and where it can just extract the video conversation for you. The last
Yeah, just
one that we will show.
just
Yep.
just going back to the transcription part of the
Mm.
component. Is that done with an Amazon transcribe or is
You can use Amazon Transcribe, definitely,
Mm.
because our transcribe is just AI, like it's an AI service. You just make an API and then it will be able to give you the result. But in my demo, because I want to show the possibility of all using SageMaker with open source model, I actually
Mhm.
hosted this model. Like I hosted this open source Whisper model. So sorry, there is this. So there is a Whisper 2, large V2, which is the open source model. So from Jumpstart. So it's very easy. You just use the Jumpstart provided link. Later on, I'll show you the code and be easily deployed on SageMaker. So now I'm now showing a Amazon Q1 financial report. Like I sent the file. So basically now we're demonstrating how you can talk chat with the document. So without me going through the document at all, I want the chatbot to
Yeah.
basically help me to summarize, tell me what this document is talking about. Now extract some import, like some detailed data from the document. So this is the value. You can basically validate our Q1 document is public. So you can validate whether it is extracting the correct information, but I can tell you it is. And now we can also ask something about the board based on the financial report. Now give me a like how do you see the future of Amazon? I like how it summarizes. Overall, I'm optimistic about Amazon's future
That's amazing.
prospect. Yes,
um,
yes,
because like,
and
I can see the
yep,
benefits of like if you have a large documents and you don't want to go through like, I don't know, 100 or 200 pages, you can just put it in the, chatbot or
yeah,
summarization model and then give you a summary of what is it like without actually have to go through everything. So there are a lot of
yeah,
use cases around that.
yes,
I
There is
we
a
do
exactly.
have one
question.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Mai, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so Melanie, there's a LinkedIn user. Can I ask you how you usually solve the cold start issue in serverless inference on SageMaker?
That's a good question. So serverless inference is one of the SageMaker hosting options. So SageMaker hosting have four options. One is real time, one is asynchronous inference, one is serverless, one is batch inference. So with serverless inference at the moment, we don't really support GPU, which means you may not be able to like basically host the large language model, which requires the GPU compute resource to be able to
Hmm.
run the model on. But then So behind the scenes serverless, basically you can consider similarly as how you work with Lambda. So you have like a lot of experience of working with Lambda, so it will have the kind of initial start when the resource, because serverless endpoint is the best use case is that when there's no invocation request comes in, there's no charge, because the behind the scene, the compute resource is not running all the time, right? So only when the request comes in, and then we will kind of provision the resources, compute resources needed for you. And then for SageMaker, when you launch endpoint, as we know, it's basically the model. There will be a serve endpoint or hosting container. Sorry, the container. Everything is actually still running in the container. It's just that with serverless, we kind of running the container in the serverless compute resource. So when the request comes in, and then like the SageMaker service will spin up the necessary resource, download the container, load the model. So there will be a code start for that
Yeah.
specific use case. So with that said, what are the common use cases for serverless inference? Serverless inference would be more suitable for the use cases that is tolerant to this kind of code start. Or if you are aware, because once the resource comes in, the compute resource behind the scene, or the service compute resource behind
Yeah.
the scene, will be available for a short period of time. So like 5 to 10 minutes. I haven't really
Yeah.
checked exactly how long that period would be, but then the resource will still be available. So when the next request comes in, if that resource is there, and then you will not really have the cold start issue. So which means you can either think about like whether provision, like keeping, like if you pre-know that there will be resources coming, and then you can sort of getting started earlier. But then if if your use case do require low latency, cannot tolerate with cold start, maybe serverless may not be the good resources for you. But then you can think about with real-time endpoint, but then configure with auto scaling, because SageMaker real-time endpoint has built-in functionality that you can easily configure auto scaling, where it scale up when the request, the payload comes more like a bigger request, heavier request, and then it can scale down like to the minimum kind of compute resources needed when the request comes lower. So with that case, it's actually the best way to actually cost optimize like your endpoint compute resources.
That's a really awesome answer, Melanie. And just generally around Lambda cold starts, have a look at Snap Start as well. So there is a Lambda Snap Start workshop that's available for everyone to have a go. It's generally based for applications that are written in Java. There's also Lambda power tuning tools available as well. So I'll try and post that link if I can find it somewhere.
Yeah, we have our last feature demo for this one, because now, like, I don't know whether everyone have heard about the retrieval augmented generation, which is basically when you ask a question, because we know one of the common problem with large language model is hallucination. And hallucination is that when we ask the question, the model would always try to give some response, and that response may not sometimes be 100% like accurate or based on the true resource. And also a common like a scenario is that like language models are trained with the data that is been feeding to it. So sometimes the certain data may not really be up to date, but then you cannot really afford always fine tuning your model based on new data. That would be a lot of cost. So one of the ways to customize your foundation model would be using, like we see when we give a document, it's like we're providing additional context, and then we ask the model to answer certain things based on that context. So that's a similar idea of using RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. So which means we give additional context when trying to get the model to answer certain questions. So when I click on use knowledge base, behind the scene, it basically will use the RAG solution. So the knowledge base that I get for this bot was basically something that we use the transcribe functionality to convert some of the video file into like a text. But that text, basically, the example was actually I read some SageMaker document and then recorded myself as the original source, and then be able to convert that into chunks of information. And that information is basically talking about the SageMaker recommended way about prompt engineering, about our foundation model, things like that. And you can see I was asking about the how to customize the foundation model, what are the optimized way. So you can see it also give the original data source. These are the video transcribe file, and even with the timestamp that when I transcribing it. So it was talking about, okay, you can use prompt engineering. But if we don't use RAG, if we don't use this knowledge base, let me untick that. And then I'll just ask the question again. And let's see, like without the knowledge base, what does the model say? So you can see the recommended way is start by understanding. So it's not really what we want, right? We really want something that it can provide the answer based on our document, which has the clear information about that information. Now let's try. Um, uh, does fine-tuning change the weight of the model? And that's another, let's see whether it will be able to give us the exact part of the information where my original, yes, basically it was able to answer the question based on the document that is the SageMaker document. And what about, like, there are ways that you can help. What if the customer asking some questions that is not really related with the document? Because the document, like I said, is more about fine-tuning the large language model, the from engineering, that from SageMaker document. So I was actually adding some additional like small tricks there to basically ask the large language model to validate whether, like, it's kind of a sanity check, which is basically learned from our EMEA data like applied science team who built a POC for one customer. They basically use a similar technique to re-ask the question to the model again. Can you validate whether this answer or is generated from that source? If it's not, because the answer the model gonna give me will be yes, like which country, like it will be talking about China, but then because that is not really related with the SageMaker source that it's retrieved, right? So it will, I'll say the model say no, it's like respond with sorry, there's not enough answer. So this is one of the small tricks or ticks that you can basically control the hallucination or some of the scenarios that it might be used for a small technique, but then you also need to validate and test yourself. So there are so many things. To be honest, like generative AI we are still in a very early stage, and then there are so many things that we can explore and try out.
Yeah.
So I'll say it will not really stop here, and this is just a one simple demo, and it will definitely require more exploration. And we would like to hear from you as well. If you have a good example, we want to learn from the field team, from everybody like who are exploring this domain, and that's how we actually building a more healthy and also a very rich community, and to help the technology evolve. So with that said, I'll give you a big, because we already seen what it looks like, but how did I build it, or how can you build it? So
Yeah.
behind the scene, I'm using Streamlit, which is the basically powering the UI. Streamlit is one of the open source tool that you can easily build a UI. And I basically run Streamlit on SageMaker Studio. And then when you use SageMaker Studio, you can basically change the lab into proxy and then to the port that you basically hosted this Streamlit application on. And then behind the scene, like I said, you've seen the models that I deployed. I use Bleep, I use Falcon, and I have an embedding model. And I didn't draw the Whisper model there, but of course you can extend the model list to whatever you want, right? And then they basically, when you upload a document, it will put it into memory, chat to the NLP model. When you put an image, you will be able to chat with the Bleep model, and also with the RAG solution. As we know, if you are not really familiar with retrieval augmented generation, I would strongly recommend search for some of the resources in our AWS blog. We have some very good blog talking about retrieval augmented generation and how you can implement it. And in this example, I basically deploy this embedding model from SageMaker Jumpstart, one-click deploy, very easy. And then it will be able to convert the documents into embeddings and store. I use the long chains memory base because my file is really small. So I was able to host it just in memory, and then providing the index. So when users asking a question, it will go through the embedding model again, and then do the search and then the search will be able to retrieve the original relevant document, use as additional context, and put it through LangChain. LangChain is the open source kind of tool that actually help you to quickly build application around the large language model. And LangChain has that SageMaker endpoint function. So that is a very important function where you can easily define like the API to be sent to SageMaker. So this is the function. It's called SageMaker endpoint. So I can just specify the endpoint name, region, and content handler. Basically, the content handler will tell me how do I handle the input, and once I get the output, how do I kind of pass the output. So that as easy as that. We have so many examples about how to leverage SageMaker and LangChain to build your application. So feel free to um, explore that. And one addition of RAG.
Sorry.
Yep.
Just
Sorry,
a question.
please go ahead.
SageMaker endpoints. So for those that are starting out with SageMaker, and when I was going through SageMaker, we generate all these endpoints, right? I think from a newbie perspective, it's always good to monitor how long your endpoints are up, right, Melanie? Like in terms of cost. What would you suggest for people starting out with SageMaker and they're just monitoring their costs around their usage?
Yes, so that's a good question. Thanks, Mai. So basically for SageMaker endpoint, one thing that you need to be mindful is that when your endpoint is up and running, and then you will be charged based on the hour and how that that is running. So it's always good to test with smaller models, or like if you like want to do some prompt engineering, and then you can basically test it out with one smaller model, and then validate like while you're running it. But once you're finishing experimenting or testing, and do remember to like terminate your endpoint. But then when you delete your endpoint, you can do that basically using API or from the console. But once you want to launch that endpoint, the endpoint creation is very easy. You just need to, because we have the model and endpoint configuration already defined, so you can easily create an endpoint based on your previous endpoint configuration. And also we do have customer, basically you can use a Lambda to basically trigger schedule the endpoint termination or deletion of your endpoint at certain time of the day. And also next day before you get start back to work on your project, you use the event bridge based event to trigger that Lambda to create an endpoint. So when you go back online, you can start using that. But that's a very good call, so be mindful about the cost. But on another hand, I'll say when you actually starting your workload, the real workload, we understand that if you are using an API based solution, the more API you make, the more cost it will become. But then with SageMaker endpoint, the thing is like you can use our inference recommender to basically test a recommendation job, and that will be able to recommend a particular GPU instance, how much it costs per hour. This works perfectly well. And actually in this GitHub example, in one of the section in the notebook, I'll show you how to launch a recommender job. So you will be able to evaluate, okay, this is Falcon 7B, and then I'm using a G5 2X, and then this is how much it will cost per hour. And then 1 million inference. This is 1 million inference requests, but actually with per hour cost, and also you can have the max invocation this is per minute. And then with that, I also have the calculation in this notebook. I'll go to that section. So in this notebook, you will be able to calculate what, like with the full capacity, let's say at least you are having 80 invocations per minute. When you're actually launching, think about you are launching your applications online, and then you will be able to calculate. So this is a simple calculation per 1K token. I can share with you the result based on my test in my environment. So per 1K token, because I was actually sending 1,500 tokens per invocation. So if you have that rough number and also how many invocations per minute, and also with the per hour cost, you will be able to calculate per 1K token. It was about $0.0002. That's a really like
That's
when you
very
have enough. invocation like coming in, like the cost per 1K token is really low.
That could be
So
really
that's where,
useful. Like,
yeah.
the inference recommendation and also the pricing. So you can kind of get the estimate of how much like would that cost and what's involved in the cost contributors when you are, doing a POC or testing it out. So thanks for sharing that.
No worries. And I'll say, like, definitely there will be, because no matter what you do, there will be some kind of cost. But then in the long run, when you're thinking about serving your applications in scale, and then there are going to be a lot of API calls made, and also you need to
Mm.
invoke the endpoint, and also hosting SageMaker endpoint, you don't really need to worry about like making multiple invocations to the endpoint, because the endpoint is always there. So
Yeah.
like when you host the endpoint, you are making 10 invocations, you're making 20 or 80 invocations, it will be just the costing based on the compute resources, not based on the APIs that you made. So that is one thing
Yeah.
why, like, sometimes we think, okay, when it goes to the application, and hosting your own endpoint sometimes can be more cost efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for pointing those
Uh,
out. I learned something new today on the inference recommendations. So I haven't seen it before, but it can be really handy for customer or building a business case. Understanding what sort of instance do they need, how much it will cost, and how can they control the cost before it's blow out. While you are building it out, but also having that visibility on the service that they're using.
Exactly. And by the way, the inference recommender can be worked with any model, not only the foundation model, any model
Okay.
that you can bring your own model into SageMaker. You can basically use the model trained on SageMaker, and then it can be your any your use cases, like a churn like detection, customer churn detection, fraud detection, and then like a classification. Basically anything. Like if you want to host your model on SageMaker, you want to understand like what will be the cost,
Mm.
what are the, you can put on a few instance types, and then you ask inference recommender to do the load testing for you to recommend.
Yeah.
It can recommend based on your preference, whether you want
Yeah.
high throughput, you want low latency. It basically gives you a lot of insights about the model performance in production, like you can see
Yeah.
here, like the invocations, model latencies, and these are the things that, because I previously, before we have inference recommender, actually helped customer to set up load testing myself. It's not a very
Yeah.
easy to do job, because you need to test
No,
different. But now you're like the inference recommender is one of the service I really like, because it actually removes a
that's
lot of heavy
awesome.
lifting that I need to do by myself, and very easy to set. And the cost for inference recommender job, because behind the scene, what happens is that if you launch ephemeral endpoint, for example, if you launch one endpoint temporarily based on the configuration, do the load testing for a few minutes, and then making sure that it get the correct data, terminate it. So the cost of a whole like inference recommender job, depending on the instance you use, depending on how long it run, it probably just be a couple dollar, like maybe $1 or $2
Yeah.
or so. So it's very, I'll say, using inference recommender job, and it's very easy and cost
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
definitely useful for the long run, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
it's worth the couple of dollars for the long run.
absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. So what else do we have, Melanie, or are we going to wrap up here?
Yeah, I want to just highlight some of the resources. Especially want to highlight the announcement that we did like just 2 days ago, as we probably have heard
Mhm.
the big blush about this news about Llama, which is the model that created by Meta that is available. And right on the day Llama 2 was available, we're actually also making it available on SageMaker Jumpstart, and we already having customer testing it when we're actually running a workshop with them the day before. And then they basically they are the first group of customer testing it, and then they are very excited and say, wow, Llama 2 was just available, and now like you can already just one click deployment. I'll show you. And then on SageMaker Studio and under Jumpstart, and you can see, you can configure the resources that want to use, and then one click deploy. As easy as that.
Yeah.
And I have already
That's
tested
so
it. And then
easy.
if you're
Yeah.
interested, yeah. And then we also have this run notebook, and to basically show you how you get started and to test with the Llama. And also you can use this notebook to launch Llama step by step with the
Mhm.
instructions, and also you can see the test use cases, and very easily to help you to start building, to get you started with like building. Additionally, as we mentioned, because we had very good kind of collaboration with Hugging Face, so now this Hugging Face has introduced their specific large language model inference container. It's called TGI, and that with a few lines of code, you can see these are the popular open source models that you can easily deploy on SageMaker. I'll show you one of the Falcon 7B. You go to deploy, and then you click on SageMaker. These are the few lines of showing you SageMaker SDK. So you can just copy and paste them into your studio or your local environment, and you will be able to launch the endpoint on SageMaker
That's
hosting and to
amazing.
be able to perform invocation. You can start building your applications on top of that.
It just make it so much easier to get started. Like for people like me who don't have much experience on the SageMaker or AI/ML background, it just keep lowering the barrier to get into, play around with these models, understand more about it, and be able to, absorb this kind of knowledge and be applied it. So absolutely.
So we've got a
Yeah,
question.
absolutely. Thanks.
So yeah, saying
Yep.
that it's awesome. Is it correct to assume that this architecture works well with serverless architectures and web apps from regex generator?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think that basically you are asking about the serverless to take, like basically you hosting your web application on serverless. And like we see in the architecture, basically this part is totally, and even long chain, this whole part can totally be implemented in the serverless. Like you can implement it on Lambda, you can implement it on like Fargate or EKS. Basically, how you want to serve your application in front of your customer, that's under your control. It doesn't really have anything to do with machine learning, let's say it that way. But then, so that's how SageMaker handles all the heavy lifting behind the scene. In addition, that's one part I forgot to mention, the rack solution. If you don't really want to go through creating your own embedding, creating your own vector DB, we have the perfect AI service, which is called Kendra. And then also we have this blog post about how to build high accurate generative AI applications on enterprise data using Kendra, Langchain, large language model. That is so easy to get you started. So in this workshop, actually, we had the second lab and we built using Kendra. And also Kendra has the ability that when you actually adding new data sources, you can easily do a sync from Kendra. It will be quickly sync up the new documentation and made it available for your application. So your rack or your retrieval component would always be up to date. So very easily, I would definitely recommend like read a bit on this blog post and understand how Kendra can easily get you started and remove all the heavy lifting of building your own rack solution.
Yeah, thanks for that, Melanie. May, do you want to talk about
Yeah.
this?
So this sessions, we have a few user from LinkedIn, like, commenting. So really appreciate that whoever watching on the LinkedIn, we can't see the handles, but appreciate you watching on the LinkedIn as well. So Melanie, they are enjoying the sessions, great content, and call out for Nadia from LinkedIn watching on the session. Um, it's about Llama. Can you please share the blog post that you're talking about?
Yeah, the Llama 2 blog. I just posted on the chat. May do you mind to help to forward that
Yeah,
blog post link to the
I
audience?
can share
Yeah.
that. Awesome. So hopefully everyone's get a bit of understanding of the SageMaker, a little bit of AI ML, see the demos of, some of the cool things Melanie has built. So really appreciate spending the time. And Melanie, thank you for the demo and going through all the details and all the exciting things that is happening in the generative AI space. For just to close out, Melanie, do you have any last word that you want to mention to the viewers who are watching on the stream, starting out the journey in this space?
First of all, thanks for having me, and I really enjoyed the session. And this is a great session. I hope like everyone like watching the whole series would. I'm definitely sure that they're learning a lot from our all like awesome hosts, and then looking forward to like the future sessions. And for the audience who want to really start with your generative AI journey, do keep an eye out on our new blog post that we continuously building new information, and also definitely reach out to our AWS kind of like colleagues and whoever you have in the AWS contact, because in within the AWS, like we are actually investing heavily on our time on helping our customer and also helping them to remove all the heavy liftings that you need to build your applications, and then getting your generative AI applications out there and into production. And we're looking forward to actually working with you, and definitely go build with AWS today.
Amazing. Thank you. Mai,
Thanks,
do you want to
Melanie.
close out?
Yeah, sure. So thank you everyone for watching our AWS She Tech Skills show. We are also streaming on podcasts every week, and that's global. We have a global cohort of hosts and awesome guests as well. And we've had a few generative AI sessions as well, based in North America and India as well.
Yep.
So please go and check out our previous episodes on YouTube and podcasts on demand. So, and stay tuned for our next episode in about a month's time. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.